hopefully have time to talk a little bit about sports biography writing as well, because I'm very interested in how that's different from writing fiction. But for the love of God, you've been so patient as I ask you about everything else under the sun. Let's talk about the speed of falling objects. So if you would just, I'm terrible about summarizing other people's biographies and other people's books. So if you would just kind of go ahead and tell the esteemed audience a little bit about your new novel.
Sure. I'm terrible about summarizing my own, so feel free to interject if I'm leaving something out. But The Speed of Falling Objects is about a timid young woman named Danger Danielle Warren. Her nickname is Danny. And she perceives herself as defective and inferior and an embarrassment based on a childhood accident, and also because of her parents' divorce and her dad's abandonment of the family and of her. And her father is a famous TV survivalist named Cougar, and he calls her out of the blue and he invites her to be in an episode of his show that's going to be filmed in the Amazon rainforest with a teen movie idol. And she jumps at the chance because she wants to prove to her dad she's worthy of his love. Their plane crashes in the Amazon, and Danny's forced to face everything that terrifies her, including a secret about the father she idolizes and the movie star, of course, that she's falling for, and to discover her unique abilities and strengths in order to save herself, the people she loves, and to find the way back home. There, ta-da!
That's perfect. And it is a high-octane, suspenseful thriller. There is a lot of chapters, so you have to keep going. Don't put this book down. And yet it is rooted very much in characters and that fundamental father-daughter relationship, as well as the relationship with the mother, even though the mother is not in the book as often. Why is it that was crucial to have those interpersonal relationships when you've already got Danny lost in the Amazon? She's got a plate full already.
Right, she does. Well, there's two things for this book that I was obsessed with. One is I'm obsessed with survival stories, like zombies, even, as we talked about putting people in horrible situations because you don't know who they are and they don't know who they are or who the people around them are until they are forced to be in a survival type situation. The other thing is that I'm really interested in how we define ourselves. And in order to show why Danny feels that she's defective and inferior and an embarrassment, I needed to show you what her relationships were with her parents. Because I think that we all, as both children and adults, create a definition of ourselves based on our past, our childhood, our experiences, our perceptions, our misperceptions, and even the lies that we're told. And so I wanted to create this character who you could see through her relationships, how she came up with the definition of who she is. And then I wanted to put her in a situation where that definition was challenged to the point, both through learning some really hard truths about her father, but also realizing her own unique strengths, where she realized that she had created herself on a faulty foundation. And that from that moment forward, she could choose who she wanted to be in the moment and who she wanted to be in the future and become the hero of her own life story. But more than that, become the narrator of her own life and define herself. Because I feel like in my own life, that's been something that I've worked through. And I look at my friends and we have these discussions about how they see themselves. And like, for example, my mom used to tell me I was intellectually lazy. So I grew up thinking that I was just kind of not very smart, right? And then at a certain point in my life, it's like, how many books do I have to publish? And what do I need to do to see myself as somebody who is intelligent and capable? And I kind of wanted to write this young adult story where kids could ask that question sooner and not carry baggage into their adult life that they don't need to carry and become their own navigator. So that's a long answer to your question. I'm sorry if I went too wide.
That's perfect. There is no such thing as too long-winded on this show. That's one of the reasons I like to go as long as we do, because there's time for all kinds of incredible answers we wouldn't get if I just had to say, in 2 minutes or less, tell me about your novel.
Right.
So one thing I was curious is you take a Danny's Eye, and again, it's and for a good reason. There's a reveal that's going to tie into, without spoiling, everything we've been talking about. But why give? I'm going to facetiously ask this question because I know that torturing your protagonist makes them more interesting.
Yeah.
But why take Danny's Eye early on when she has plenty of problems already being stuck in the Amazon and her relationships with her parents and with how she views herself?
Because I wanted her to have something concrete to blame. I wanted it to be, for her perception to be internalized. If she was just a kid who was going through normal kind of parent stuff, I'm not sure she would have defined herself in the same way. And also, she's the kind of person who, she's a lot like me in the sense that I will always apologize, even before I know if I've done something wrong. I'm just like, it's my fault, I'll just take it, and so I wanted her to be this person who kind of grew up always feeling, my parents got divorced. Was it because of my eye? My mom is bitter. Was it? It's because I did something wrong. It's my fault. And so I wanted that to be a very concrete part of who she was early on, so that later on she could look back and see when it happened and understand that wasn't the impetus for any of those bad things that happened in her life.
So how old were you when you figured out that you could stop apologizing for all the things that weren't your fault?
See, I'm one of those people who carries the baggage, so I still find myself, so young adult authors, I truly believe we all have all these issues and we're trying to still work through them. We haven't quite moved past them. My husband always says, stop apologizing, because anything will come up and I'll just go, oh, I'm sorry. And it's ridiculous, right? But I recognize that I'll apologize and they'll say, hey, oh, wait, that's not my fault. I don't really mean it. But so I'm a work in progress with the apologies.
So you're writing a better outcome for Danny that you hope to be inspired by and follow suit.
I wish I'd read this story when I was, Danny's age. And I think the beautiful thing about young adult novels right now is that they tackle all these incredible issues. And as you know, right now is a time in young adult novels where authors are taken to task for a lot of different things, for, not own voices or ableism or whatever it is, racism, all different kinds of things. Some are valid, some are not. But I think the danger is if you don't tackle those topics, and you should tackle them in a really conscious way and to the best of your ability. But if they're not tackled, then your readers miss out on learning things about characters, and by learning them about the characters, challenging and learning things about themselves. So I hope that young adult novels continue to tackle some really difficult issues and topics. The Speed of Falling Objects isn't that book. I'm not tackling prejudice and racism or anything, but I'm just saying overall, globally, I just think it's so important because young people need to read those stories so that they can deal with things before they become adults.